And the U.S. is another step closer to November's midterm elections.
Between now and this fall, the Democratic Party appears to be facing an uphill battle to retain its House and Senate majorities. A Gallup poll conducted last month found that only 41% of Americans approve of President Biden's job performance. A mere 18% approve of Congress's performance. Both of these metrics are 10 or more points below the average for midterm years.
Joining us now is CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist Antjuan Seawright. Antjuan, great to see you again. Welcome. So, former President Trump's endorsements prevailed in Alabama, but as we were just discussing, they fell short in Georgia. What does Tuesday's primary results say about Mr. Trump's continuing influence over the Republican Party and the impact it could potentially have on Democrats' chances in November?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I think what the primary results, not just on Tuesday, but across the country in the Republican primary has demonstrated is that Republican voters are mixed on the emotions about President Trump. No doubt they identify with him as being the leader of the Republican Party because he was the last president. But that does not mean it's transferable downstream in terms of his policies or even his personalities in these primaries. And so in some cases, where President Trump had a strong showing in the presidential election in 2020, his candidates prevailed. But if you look at Georgia and you look at other places where his candidates have lost, with the exception of a few cases, his candidates have not prevailed. There have also been some underlying currents that we do not always measure when we talk about his influence on Republican voters. For an example, in the South Carolina 7th Congressional District primary, the reason why Tom Rice lost, in my opinion, is because Representative Russell Fry, the candidate prevailed, the Trump-backed candidate, ran a campaign focused on issues that matter to those voters, and Tom Rice doubled down on national politics. And I think we've kind of seen that play out throughout the country. What does this mean for the Democratic Party? I think President Trump continues to be a liability and a motivating factor for certain elements of the Democratic Party, in particular voters of color, because we know the destruction he was and the rhetoric he produced and some of the policies he's advocated for that would send communities that look like mine full steam backwards. And so I think he can be a motivating factor for us if we play it right. However, he's not on the ballot, nor is his agenda. And so I think we have to be strategic as Democrats in how we push him into the midterm conversation, because in some cases, for some Republican voters, he will be a motivating factor.
Antjuan, I want to dig in a little bit more on the Democratic Party. In an opinion piece published earlier this month on thegrio.com, you analyzed the importance of black fathers in particular to the Democratic Party. Explain to us, Antjuan, why black fathers you think represent a key voting bloc and why the rise of black employment, black male employment in recent months is so important in relation to this.
Well, Elaine, as you know, I've been beating this drum very loudly about the importance of African-American men and their vote. I caught hell in my own party when I said it in 2019, but I would describe the black male vote as perhaps the most consequential voting bloc within our party. We saw in the 2016 election where Donald Trump received, I think it was 13%. That number somewhere was between 13 and 12% in the 2020 election. And so in any given election, that vote can be very consequential and crucial to the results. We also see the Republican Party making a hard play. Even though I view it as a hoodwink, they're making a hard play at courting black voters as if they have a message that will connect voters. And so I don't think the Democratic Party, my party, can take any constituency for granted, in particular those that could swing in the election and that could find growth. I think when we talk about the collective black vote as Democrats or even in this country, the collective vote is where the power lies, not the split vote between when we divide it up between black women and black men. And I think as Democrats, there's a hard lesson for us to learn from both the 2016 and the 2020 election and other elections, like I mentioned in the piece, the Virginia gubernatorial election in which Governor Youngkin received, I think, more than his fair share of the collective black vote. And I think we have to be very thoughtful and intentional about meeting black men where they are, not just black fathers, but black men as a whole.
We'll continue to watch to see how these appeals play out. Antjuan Seawright, always good to talk to you, Antjuan. Thank you.
Thank you.